Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today I'm going to show you my peppers and my tomatoes that I planted. Now I've done several different planting videos. I'll link up above one of the videos I did on planting tomatoes, but we're going to go over the varieties that I planted and then what I'm going to do because I jumped the gun and planted these a bit too early. This is before Mother's Day, and Mother's Day is typically really close to the last frost date. But we're going to get in the low 30s today, or tonight and tomorrow night. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to protect my tomatoes. So here we are. This is my tomato bed, and I may have overdone it a little bit. This year we're going to see how the tomatoes do. Number one, they're planted out too early without walls of water. Last year I used walls of water and found that the tomatoes that weren't planted in them quickly caught up to the ones that were, and there wasn't a big difference in production, and there was no difference in how early they produced. So no walls of water this year, but I also found several varieties that I wanted to use and kind of jumped the gun on how many I planted. So there are 10 tomatoes, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tomatoes in this bed. This is a 4x8 bed. And we're going to try and grow them like we did last year. What we did last year is we went to each tomato. We have our stake. There's rebar pounded down so that it holds the stake nice and strong. That's really strong. We're going to go through the tomatoes, and like this right here, if you can see, this is growing between the regular stem and a leaf. So we're going to go around to all the tomatoes and pull off all the suckers. I don't see any more suckers yet on that one. But we're going to do that to all the tomatoes. So they're just going to grow up the long pole and be skinny. And we're going to see if 9 tomatoes will grow and be productive in this size of a bed. So this is going to be a bit of an experiment. So for the varieties that we're going to use, I want to do some salsa this year. It's been years since I've done salsa, but I wanted to do salsa. So I have 3 San Marzano paste tomatoes. I've grown those in the past and love the flavor, and they're very meaty with very few seeds. They're great tomatoes. This is one that was suggested to me by Liz Hamilton. This is Black Seaman. I just thought it would be interesting to try it. She said she loved the flavor. So we've got 3 Black Seaman. And then in the back, we have the Jetstar that I grew last year, and I really loved the flavor of Jetstar. Now, to plant tomatoes, like I said, I'll link above the planting video I did, but you need to go through and pull off all of the lower branches and leaves. Now, I did that, and these tomatoes were twice as big as you see them here. So half of the tomato has been planted underground. And those will root along the stem and make a stronger tomato plant. So now let's move on to my peppers. So I kind of overdid it with the pepper varieties too. Because I want to do salsa, I did 6 of the California Wonders. Those are going to be bell peppers. These are jalapenos, and we're already having one starting to struggle. But that's okay. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good jalapenos. The next several right through here, I think I have 12 of the banana peppers, and those are my favorites last year. And then I have 1 of the paprika because I still have a ton of paprika left over from the previous year. So these peppers are the ones that I'm more worried about than the tomatoes. The cold weather that's coming tonight is going to stunt them unless I can keep them warm. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I have my floating row cover, and instead of just using a single layer, it's all folded up, so I have several layers. So I'm going to cover these up, make sure it's tight, make sure it's tight so that the wind doesn't get through it, and then just use rocks to weight it down. So I'm going to cover all of the peppers that way, and I'm going to cover my tomatoes the same way. I didn't have enough frost cloth, so I'm going to use a sheet also and protect the tomatoes. Now last year I had tomatoes, and in previous years I've had tomatoes get down in the 40s and not be stunted or killed off, but the 30s is getting a little low. Now, one of the other tomatoes I didn't talk about, this is my sun sugar tomato. I'm going to have one up here, and to protect this one, I'm just going to make sure that the leaves are not squished. We're going to put the rock on top of it. And if it's going to get below freezing, what I might do is shove some weed cloth inside there and then protect it that way. See if we can make sure these don't freeze to death. So I'm really hoping that I don't have to go to the store and try to fight the crowds and buy new tomatoes and peppers because I've killed everything off that I've already planted too early. But that's the joy of gardening. You never know what's going to happen. Some years we get extremely late frost and some years we don't. This year we're going to get a late frost. I would love to hear how your gardens are doing. How's your weather? Are you getting late frost too? Or we haven't had any rain this year, or very little rain. What is your weather like? What are you doing with your gardens? This time of year is really exciting and I love it. So thank you for joining me with this garden adventure. If you've liked my videos, please like and subscribe and go have a wonderful garden adventure.